Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Primary Market Chatter. This is the December 4th week edition, second part of December 4th week edition brought to you by Sunday Investing. We are really sorry about the 5 minutes delay. It's just that Twitter tends to be really glitchy these days, wherein I had a different set of people I could see on system and a different set of people I could see on the app, on the mobile as well, and I joined from both. So right now the system works. So I'm going ahead with that. But yeah, just want to highlight that if you have joined us for the first time, what we do is हम companies का fundamental review करते हैं from our side and give a fundamental read of the company, what the company does, company का vision क्या है, and हमें company कैसी लग रही है. Want to just say, I know I've said it enough number of times, but we are not SEBI registered, so we cannot officially make a recommendation. Do not take anything on a recommendation value. Do your own due diligence. This can only act as a supplement. ये आपको help कर सकता है in order to make your decision, but this is not an official qualified opinion, if I may say so. Having said that, कल हमने 5 कंपनीज की बात की थी. अगर आपको उन 5 कंपनीज में से किसी के बारे में भी सुनना है तो go ahead and hear the yesterday's space which we did, and make sure that you are tuned in on those 5 companies. The 5 companies we covered yesterday were the ones which had their IPO coming in on Monday, like IPO closing on Monday. And the 3 companies that we'll be talking about would be the ones who have their IPOs closing on Tuesday. आज Tuesday वाली companies की बात करेंगे. So just setting up the agenda कि हम आज क्या करने वाले हैं. We will start with Senores Pharma, then go to Carraro India, and then probably end with Ventive. So those are the 3 companies that we are going to be talking about in those specific orders. And again, I will post the space recording on the YouTube channel as well, the link to which is in the above comments. So if in case you have missed anything, you can go ahead and look at it at the YouTube video as well later. With that, let me just quickly start building upon Senores Pharma. So Senores Pharma, the company develops and manufactures pharmaceutical products primarily for the regulated markets of US, Canada, and UK. It has 55 products in key therapeutic areas like antibiotics and antifungal. Interesting thing about the company is that it is a group company of listed Remus Pharma. Just setting up the IPO, the company is coming up with an IPO of 582 crores. So out of which 500 CR is fresh issue, which is going for growth of the company, and 82 CR promoters are taking a OFS exit. Promoters are selling their shares for worth 82 crores. The company is coming at a market cap of 1350 crores. So you will see that the promoters, the dilution would become slightly problem, like they are diluting a lot of the company at this stage. Maybe Yash will discuss it further, but yeah, in terms of the financials, FY24 financials, the company did a revenue of 217 crores and a PAT of 32 crores. So in terms of the LMs are Equirus, Ambit, and Noama. So with that, maybe Yash, do you want to go ahead and share your read of Senores Pharma?
Sure, Manish. So, Senores Pharma is a global research-driven pharmaceutical company. I'll later explain why I'm saying research-driven. So, they are engaged in developing and manufacturing wide range of pharma products for regulated markets of US, Canada, and United Kingdom, and across various therapeutic areas and dosage forms, with presence in emerging markets also. Their partnership in regulated markets consist of with foreign and Indian pharmaceutical companies like Pasco LLC, Lannett Company, Jubilant, Cadista Pharmaceuticals, Alchem Laboratories, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's Lab. So their business is primarily focused on regulated markets, and they have presence in emerging markets. So there is the some contribution from both of the areas. So the revenue breakup from various segments are as following: ki regulated markets में से there is 61% of the business that is coming from emerging markets में से that is 32%, and majorly then the rest of it is split into critical care injections and API business. Speaking more about the regulated market business. So their regulated market business is carried out through 2 of their subsidiaries, which one is Hevix, which houses their US FDA approval oral facility at Atlanta. The other one is SPI, a US based company holding intellectual property used by their company specifically for their ANDA approvals. So in this also they have adopted the business model for the regulated markets, especially US, Canada, in UK, जिसमें they have two types of business. One is marketed products, and the other one is CDMO products. तो marketed products में then there are two more segments जिसमें होता है ANDA products. So for their ANDA products they have adopted a strategy जिसमें वो लोग अपना data analytics करते हैं, research and development करते हैं, internal research करते हैं, databases, public databases check करते हैं, and they figure out कि कौन सा medication या कौन सा दवाई इस समय कम सप्लाई में है एंड उसके लिए कैपेबिलिटी चाहिए, वो उसको इन हाउस बनाते हैं एंड देन दे सेल इट और उनको मार्जिन ज्यादा मिल जाता है बिकॉज दे आर एक्सपोर्टिंग इट फ्रॉम इट. So they, as of September 2024, they have received approval for 90s ANDAs and have commercialized 21 products in US and Canada markets. The second part in market products is source products, जिसमें they also deal in products that are sourced from other companies to meet certain specific requirements जो उनके customers ने बोला होता है कि हमें ये चाहिए, तो उसको वो source करते हैं and then they supply it to customers. Then there is the other part of the business which is CDMO. तो CDMO में क्या करते हैं ये लोग? They have their facility in Atlanta to conduct the CDMO business. As per the management, CDMO clients depend on their specialized formation. तो उसमें फॉर्मेशन के हिसाब से उनके क्लाइंट्स डिपेंड करते हैं. तो इन्होंने काफी अर्ली ये ड्रग डेवलपमेंट प्रोसेस में आ जाते हैं. ये लोग काफी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट करते हैं. दे हैव देयर रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट 3 फैसिलिटीज इन इंडिया. उसके बारे में बाद में बात करूंगा. बट पूरा रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट में काफी स्टार्टिंग से एंटर कर जाते हैं एंड देन दे गो थ्रू क्लिनिकल स्टेजेस, देन देयर कमर्शियल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, और काफी लॉन्ग लास्टिंग कनेक्शंस बना रखे हैं इन्होंने अपने क्लाइंट्स के साथ, जिनके थ्रू इनको रेकनिंग एंड स्टेडी रेवेन्यू आते रहता है. अभी जिस स्केल पे कंपनी है and dependability and the variety of goods and services that the company is giving to their clients is meeting the demands of their customers, वो काफी ज्यादा है. तो जो सप्लाई चेन्स के इश्यूज होते हैं वो वगैरह इस कंपनी को आ ही नहीं, मतलब बहुत कम आ रहे हैं. फर्दरमोर जो कंपनी की फैसिलिटी है Atlanta wali, they allows them to support the US government activities, including the production of banned narcotics that their clients engage in. Or additionally, they have contract manufacturing businesses for Elchem, Jubilant, Cadesa, and Sun Pharma, etc. As of September 30th, 2024, they have signed CDMO contracts of over 40 products with the client in US, Canada, UK, South Africa, and UAE. तो काफी well developed and काफी ग्रोइंग डिमांड है इनके प्रोडक्ट्स की इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स में. प्लस इनका जो फंड यूटिलाइजेशन है, दे आर पुटिंग 107 करोड़ इन इन्वेस्टमेंट अटलांटा वाली फैक्ट्री में फॉर अ न्यू स्टरलाइट इंजेक्शन यूनिट. क्योंकि ये स्टरलाइट इंजेक्शन यूनिट में ना एक लॉ है यूएस का कि इफ यू वांट टू डील विद इंजेक्शन, इफ यू वांट टू मैन्युफैक्चर इट, तो नेसेसरली योर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट शुड बी इन यूएस. तो इसलिए वो लोग वहां पे कैपेक्स कर रहे हैं. देन दे हैव देयर ग्रीनफील्ड एक्सपेंशन यूनिट, जिसको वो लोग गुजरात में बनाएंगे, जिससे एपीआई मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की सपोर्ट होगी. देन दे हैव डेट पेमेंट ऑफ 100 करोड़, जिसमें वो डेट का पेमेंट कर रहे हैं. ऑलमोस्ट आई थिंक 200 करोड़ अभी बैलेंस शीट में है. 100 करोड़ पे ऑफ कर देंगे तो 50% इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगा. तो बॉटम लाइन में इंटरेस्ट कम हो जाएगा, तो पैट मार्जिन भी इंप्रूव हो जाएंगे. ठीक है. बाकी जो पैसा इनको चाहिए वो है वर्किंग कैपिटल के लिए. 13 करोड़ इन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट करा FY25 एंड 30 करोड़ करा इन्होंने FY26. तो अब आते हैं इनके R&D पे. तो अभी इनका 3 R&D है इंडिया में एंड इन द यूएस. दे आर इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ कंसोलिडेटिंग देयर R&D फैसिलिटीज इनटू वन प्रपोज एंटिटी. तो अभी भी जो इनकी बैलेंस शीट वगैरह वो देख रहे हैं हम, दैट इज ऑल्सो मर्ज्ड एंटिटीज, की रिसेंटली इन्होंने मर्जर करके अपनी एंटिटीज लाई हैं. तो सिमिलरली दे आर ऑल्सो consolidating their R&D facilities. That is also professionally driven and by the experienced management. जो इसमें इनके मैनेजमेंट हैं, जैसे स्वप्निल जतिन भाई शाह, 15 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री में. एंड अशोक कुमार बैरेट, who has 21 years of experience in pharmaceutical industry. तो काफी वाइड एरिया से एक्सपीरियंस आ रखा है इनको. प्लस ओवरऑल मैं बात करूं कि इनका जो ऑलरेडी लिस्टेड कंपनी है ग्रुप का, रीमस फार्मा, दैट हैज परफॉर्म्ड रियली वेल लिस्ट होने के बाद से. आई थिंक इट वाज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट वेल्थ जनरेटर्स फॉर द आईपीओ होल्डर्स एंड द वंस हु बॉट ऑन लिस्टिंग्स. प्लस इसमें एक चीज भी है विच जस्ट फ्यू मिनट्स बैक आई वाज जस्ट फाइनलाइजिंग. तो उसमें हमने देखा कि इसमें जो प्रमोटर का होल्डिंग है that is quite less, 67%, 65% almost प्री मनी है, विच इज कमिंग डाउन टू 48-50% के आसपास. बट उसमें एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है कि जो बाकी उसमें मेजर 1% से ऊपर स्टेक होल्डर्स है ना, दे आर द प्रोमोटर्स एंड ओनर्स ऑफ रत्नमणि मेटल एंड ट्यूब्स, जो ऑलरेडी लिस्टेड कंपनी है एंड हैव अ वैल्यूएशन ऑफ अराउंड 24-25,000 करोड़ मार्केट कैप. तो वो कंपनी के प्रमोटर्स ने अगर स्टेक ले रखा है तो इट्स शोइंग दैट दे आर गिविंग कॉन्फिडेंस एंड प्रोवाइडिंग सपोर्ट टू द मैनेजमेंट, गाइड कर रहे हैं उन्हें कि पब्लिक मार्केट्स में कैसे कैसे काम होता है, कैसे कैसे करके आगे लेके जाना है. प्लस दे हैव ऑलरेडी बिल्ड अ बिजनेस ऑफ 25,000 करोड़, तो दे नो कि बिजनेस बड़ा कैसे करना है. तो रीमस एंड दिस सेनोरेस, आई थिंक सेनोरेस इज poised for the future growth, and definitely it's a apply and buy on listing for me. Plus, if I talk about valuation, one last point, valuation की बात करूं तो valuation तो सस्ता नहीं आ रहा है. I think FY24 पे it's almost priced at 28 का पोस्ट इशू, 30 का पोस्ट इशू. तो एक चीज वैल्यूएशन के लिए ये देख सकते हैं कि रीमस का वैल्यूएशन कभी सस्ता ही नहीं था, क्योंकि सेम प्रमोटर ग्रुप है, ग्रोथ अच्छा हुआ है, एंड आई एम वेरी श्योर कि सेनोरस में भी काफी अच्छा ग्रोथ आने वाला है. व्हाट आई हैव हर्ड फ्रॉम द जनरल मार्केट इज कि दिस इज ट्रेडिंग एट ऑलमोस्ट 20 टाइम्स FY26. अगर ये 50% पे भी या 60% पे भी ओपन होता है तो काफी अच्छा FY26 का प्रोजेक्शन है इसका. प्लस रीमस कभी चीप था ही नहीं इन टर्म्स ऑफ वैल्यूएशन, इट हैज ऑलमोस्ट मीडियन पी ऑफ 60. तो लेट्स सी मार्केट इसमें कैसे इसको वैल्यू करता है. इन टर्म्स ऑफ देयर पियर्स, अजंता फार्मा, एलेम्बिक फार्मास्यूटिकल्स, कैप्लिन पॉइंट, जो उन्होंने अपने पियर्स मेंशन करे हैं, उसमें इंटरेस्टिंग चीज ये है कि जो उनका ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट मार्जिन है एंड जो नेट प्रॉफिट मार्जिन है वो काफी वेरी करता है अक्रॉस. तो जैसे सेनोरस का नेट प्रॉफिट मार्जिन इज 15%, अजंता फार्मा का इज 19%. तो ईवी बाय सेल्स में भी 7.1 टाइम्स ट्रेड कर रहा है सेनोरस आईपीओ साइज पे, एंड अजंता फार्मा इज ऑलमोस्ट 8.5. तो सबसे ज्यादा वैल्यूएशन इसमें उसको मिला है जिसका नेट प्रॉफिट मार्जिन ज्यादा है, प्लस सेल्स ज्यादा कर रहे हैं वो लोग. तो जैसे कैप्लिन पॉइंट है 10 टाइम सेल्स के. तो आई थिंक कंपनी इज फेयरली वैल्यूड एट दिस प्राइस पॉइंट एंड डेफिनेटली वन शुड अप्लाई एंड होल्ड फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म्स.
Thanks, Yash. काफी comprehensive review. मेरा just before we move to a couple of questions, I understand that मैंने जो valuation बताई वो गलत बताई सिनोरस फार्मा की. मैंने बोला था मार्केट कैप 1350 1350 CR पे आ रही है, but it's actually coming at 1801 CR. So that's a correction which I had pointed out wrong. Wanted to make sure I highlight that. But yeah, yes, my first question, and maybe this is a very naive question, or maybe this is something which there's no clear cut answer, but मेरे को ये समझना है कि रेमस और रेमस फार्मा में और इस सिनोरस फार्मा में एग्जैक्टली फर्क क्या है? लाइक वो क्या अलग थेरेपी एरियाज में काम करते हैं? बिकॉज दे आर ग्रुप कंपनी, सो हाउ डू वन डिफरेंशिएट कि किस कंपनी में क्या काम होगा? बस एनीथिंग विच मे बी दिस इज अ क्वेश्चन फॉर यश और तन्मय और रोहित, एनीवन हु नोज ऑन दिस.
आई थिंक तन्मय कैन आंसर दिस वेल, क्योंकि मैं भी यही सेम क्वेश्चन तन्मय से पूछा था अभी बिफोर जस्ट जॉइनिंग द स्पेस.
सर रेमस थोड़ा एपीआई साइड पे है और फॉर्मुलेशंस में वगैरह है. दिस कंपनी इज लाइक सीडीएमओ ऑफ, मतलब बेसिकली सेनोरस क्या है समझो, कई फॉर्मूला है उसका 10-11 साल का पेटेंट है, ओके, दैट हैज बीन एक्सपायर्ड. तो दिस कंपनी प्रोवाइड्स, अब देखो यूएस में और यूरोप में कोई दवाई बन रहा है एट XYZ कॉस्ट, और जो इंडिया में बन रहा है शायद दोनों प्रोडक्ट सेम हो, नॉट मोर देन 2-4% डिफरेंस, but the costing for an Indian manufacturer is always lower. So what Senores does is they concentrate on that therapeutic areas या फिर segments जहाँ पे manufacturers competition low है, या फिर उनको cost advantages है which they can provide to their क्लाइंट्स. लाइक अब समझो एक एग्जांपल ले लो कि जॉनसन एंड जॉनसन कोई यूरोपियन कंपनी से कोई यूरोपियन सीडीएमओ से दवाई ले रहा है, तो सेनोरस से लेगा बिकॉज उनको कॉस्ट एडवांटेज मिलेगा एंड सेनोरस कैन अफोर्ड दैट. और वो ऐसे भी एरियाज में कॉन्सेंट्रेट करता है कि वहां पे थोड़ा कंपटीशन लो हो या फिर कुछ क्रिटिकलिटी को, बट वहां पे वो पेटेंट्स वगैरह वो सारा चीज कोई उसका कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. रेमस एक एपीआई और फिनिश्ड फॉर्मुलेशन कंपनी है, तो थोड़ा सा है डिफरेंस. मतलब मैं भी बहुत टेक्निकल फार्मास्यूटिकल में कम जानता हूँ, बट जितना जानता हूँ थोड़ा है डिफरेंस उसमें. एंड रेमस हैज डन वेल यार. आई एम वेरी लॉन्ग, बहुत पुराना इन्वेस्टर हूँ उसके अंदर, आईपीओ के बाद का इन्वेस्टर हूँ मैं. तो इट हैज वर्क 4-5 से मेरे लिए वो. तो और सेनोरस का और एक चीज है कि 1801 करोड़ का मार्केट कैप है, 55 टाइम्स FY24 है. ओके, आई जस्ट करेक्ट दैट पी मल्टीपल, सो 55 टाइम्स है. यस.
तन्मय, कैन यू मोर ऑल्सो एक्सप्लेन ऑन देयर स्टरलाइट इंजेक्शन वाला पार्ट जो वो एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हैं 100 करोड़ का?
हाँ, देखो क्या होता है, यूएस में एक रूल है इंजेक्टेबल्स को लेके कि आपको अगर यूएस में बिजनेस करना है तो आपको मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटी यूएस में चाहिए. तो दे आर ऑलरेडी इनटू ओरल सॉलिड्स, टैबलेट्स एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ, बट दे आर नॉट इन इंजेक्टेबल्स. वो क्या करते हैं, इंडिया में बनाते थे और दूसरे कंट्रीज में एक्सपोर्ट करा करते थे, बट इन यूएस दैट्स नॉट अलाउड. और आपको अगर कनाडा एंड यूएस को जानते हो, वो सेम रीजन्स में आते हैं. तो यूएस में ये 100 करोड़ 104 करोड़ प्रिसाइसली का केपेक्स कर रहा है. That will get operational in, I guess, FY26. So that will again fuel the growth for the company. मतलब आई फील कि इनका FY26 बहुत ही ज्यादा दमदार सॉलिड आएगा. FY27 पर नॉर्मलाइज हो जाएगी कंपनी. एंड वन मोर क्लैरिटी आई लाइक टू गिव इज, आपने अगर इनका मार्जिन देखा होगा ना, थोड़ा वॉलेटिलिटी है. किसने कहा था कि यार इसका FY24 का मार्जिन इतना गिरा, फिर से FY23 के लेवल पे H1 आ जाता है, तो ये आईपीओ की वजह से कुछ वेट रेसिंग में से क्या? तो बात वो नहीं है. देयर वर 2 डिफरेंट कंपनीज. जो इनका सेनोरस का जो यूएस का जो सब्सिडरी है, वो मतलब दैट वाज अ डिफरेंट सेपरेट कंपनी. तो इन्होंने FY24 में दोनों कंपनीज का कंसोलिडेशन किया, तो उसकी वजह से एफिशिएंसी आई नहीं है और वो मार्जिन एक ड्रॉप चला गया. जो प्राइमरी बिजनेस है सेनोरस का, दैट दोज मार्जिन्स हैव बीन ग्रोइंग बाय 400-500 बेसिस पॉइंट्स. तो वो सब है, कंसोल करने के बाद नीचे आए मार्जिन, H1 में फिर से स्टेबलाइज हो चुके हो और ऑपरेशनल लेवरेज अच्छा है इस बिजनेस में, तो मार्जिन शुड सस्टेन.
Got it. There's one more question. I am not sure if we can cover this or not. At least I have zero expertise in pharmaceutical. I'll openly say मुझे नहीं comparatively काफी कम समझता है. But is there, so from the question I can understand कि उनको ना कुछ exclusive period मिलता है in order to make off patent drugs. So what is the key therapy area that they operate in? And वो कौन से drugs हैं जो उस पे ये focus करेंगे? Maybe that will help in order to just predict some of the revenue, I'm assuming. So any answer on this question, or we can probably come back on this question later as well. Can any of you guys hear me? Because I can see all three of you on mute.
हाँ सर, I'll answer this. मैंने इनका प्रोडक्ट लिस्ट ही निकाल लिया है पूरा. तो एंटी साइकोटिक, नर्वस सिस्टम, एंटी डिप्रेशन, ऑन्कोलॉजी, एंटी इंफ्लेमेटरी, कार्डियोवैस्कुलर, यूरोलॉजी, मतलब एक्चुअली बहुत सारे सेगमेंट्स में है. जस्ट दैट ट्राइंग टू मेक देयर निश, इतना ही मुझे दिख रहा है, बिकॉज 6-7 सेगमेंट्स में तो है ये. तो मतलब ये दिस गाइज आर जस्ट ट्राइंग टू टेल कि ये प्रोडक्ट चाहिए, बीट एनी थेरेप्यूटिक एरिया वी विल डू फॉर दी. 6-7 तो आपको दिख रहे हैं. ऑन्कोलॉजी में इनका 2 बड़ा प्रोडक्ट फैमिलीज है, कार्डियोवैस्कुलर में है, तो एंटी डिप्रेशन में भी 2-3 है, तो एंटी साइकोटिक में भी 2-3 है, तो डाइवर्स काइंड ऑफ अ पोर्टफोलियो.
Got it. Coming to the anchor list, anything that you found interesting on the anchor book? And also, this is a rather small size issue, right? So, iska, what do you predict? I'm assuming like it would also be very heavily subscribed, right? Because this is obviously in a lot of demand, right? So, any questions on A, anchor book, and B, what the subscription can look like?
Sir, subscription I personally feel should be very crazy in this. The reason being is in the first IPO set there are 5 IPOs, and in the second there are 3. And this IPO should be in priority list of number 1 due to the GMP in which majority investors apply. And on the anchor book side, I guess anchor book side, like considering the size of the company, the anchor book was quite good. ICICI Prudential tha, Bank of India, Mahindra Manulife tha. One interesting name was Ikigai Emerging Equity Fund, which is managed by Pankaj Tibrewal ji. Then Gagandeep Inam Group भी था इसके अंदर, and first ever IPO investment from Unity Small Finance Bank. आपको बताओगा स्टेट ग्रोवर उनका था वो. तो उसमें और एक फंड था ये फॉर्च्यून हैंड्स करके, वो भी नया फंड है, तो आई गेस थोड़ा अच्छा ही था, मतलब कंसिडरिंग साइज ऑफ द कंपनी इट वाज वेरी गुड। आई ट्रू कैपिटल है, एडलवाइस है, तो एसबीआई जनरल है, तो अच्छे नाम थे।
Got it. So again, I will also be applying for this company. I will see on what my I would do in terms of like how much force would I apply it with in brute terms, if I can say, or whether I want to put a SHNI or a bigger application. Completely depends on what happens on the other two issues on day two. Like very clearly, I just want to highlight, and maybe this is across everyone, I'm more interested in day two issues than day one. So I would probably be keeping a lot of money saved for day two. I would apply very lightly in day one because day one के issues काफी Monday के issues काफी छोटे हैं comparatively, and I'm hoping कि एक बार देखते हैं, I'm hoping that this is just a very small group and this doesn't change the dynamics a lot. And day two पे subscription ज़्यादा कम होगा क्योंकि लोग majorly day one में apply कर देंगे, so day two should go comparatively free. But that's what I'm planning to do. I'll be applying for Sonores. Rohit, Tanmay, Yash, you guys, your reviews, and then we can wrap up Sonores and move forward.
I will be personally applying multiple small HNIs in this.
Rohit, are you also planning to just do what both of us are going to? Oh, no, you are going to apply big HNI, right? From my understanding, you had the funds for it.
Yeah, I will. Mostly I will apply big HNI here.
I will also apply and buy on listing.
तेरे को तो मिल जाएगा यार. Yash has a 100% track record of applying to 2 IPOs till date and getting all 2 of them, if I am right. Yeah. With that, maybe we can close Senores and move forward and talk about the second company. The second company which we will be discussing is Carraro India. The company designs, manufactures and sells transmission systems like axles, transmissions and drives for agricultural and construction equipments and has 2 manufacturing plants in Pune through which it does its production. The company's parent is Carraro Group, which is a major Italian MNC, and this company is a subsidiary of that company, 100% owned subsidiary until pre-IPO. So in terms of the IPO details, the company is coming in with an IPO of 1250 CR, all of which is an OFS, essentially all of which is the Italian company Carraro Group is Carraro International is taking an exit. The company is valuing itself at a market cap of around 4002 CR, so they are like diluting around 30% of the company. अगर मैं FY24 फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं तो कंपनी का जो रेवेन्यू है it did like 1800 crores in FY24 और उनका पैट था 63 CR. So पैट मार्जिन काफी कम है कंपनी का, कंपैरेटिवली इट ऑपरेट्स एट लाइक 3% 4% पैट मार्जिन, जो कि FY25 में इंक्रीज हुआ है, उस पर मैं बाद में आता हूँ. बट अगर एलएम की बात करूं तो कंपनी का एलएम्स है एक्सिस बैंक, बीएनपी परिवार एंड नोवामा वेल्थ. With that, having set up Carraro India, let me just talk a bit about what the company does and why I like or dislike the company. So in a way, just want to highlight, ये भी ना एक like probably इतना ज्यादा आया नहीं, because I understand Hyundai में बहुत ह्यू एंड क्राई था कि कंपनी अपनी Hyundai इंडिया में ज्यादा पी पे लिस्ट करा रही है, अपनी कंपनी वहां नहीं होती. Similarly, LG का भी ऐसा ही चल रहा है. Similarly, this company is also an Italian MNC जो अपनी किसी भी कंपनी की पहली लिस्टिंग आउटसाइड ऑफ इटली करा रहा है, और इंडिया को उन्होंने चुना है फॉर ऑब्वियस रीजन दैट इंडिया टेंड्स टू ट्रेड एट अ बेटर पी. जैसा मैंने बताया, दे आर जस्ट टेकिंग एग्जिट ऑफ 1250 crores एंड वो उनकी जो वैल्यूएशन है वो 100 मार्केट कैप, उनकी जो प्रमोटर होल्डिंग है विच इज करारो इंटरनेशनल, दैट विल कम डाउन फ्रॉम 100% टू 68%. मैं बताता हूँ कंपनी करती क्या है. सो बेसिकली कंपनी जो है वो एक्सेल्स और ट्रांसमिशन सिस्टम बनाती है. ट्रांसमिशन सिस्टम फॉर द लैक ऑफ अ बेटर वर्ड इज द गियर बॉक्स वाले जो डब्बा होता है वो बनाती है फॉर ऑल 4-wheel ड्राइव ट्रैक्टर्स एंड कंस्ट्रक्शन इक्विपमेंट्स. तो उनमें जो वो लगता है गियर बॉक्स वगैरह लगते हैं वो बनाती है कंपनी, और इसके पास प्रिफर्ड स्टेटस है फॉर बीइंग अ टियर 1 प्रोवाइडर ऑफ क्रिटिकल कंपोनेंट्स अक्रॉस अ लॉट ऑफ प्लेयर्स. कई सारे जो OEMs हैं वो इनको टियर 1 स्टेटस देते हैं और इस कंपनी से अपनी जो 4-wheel ड्राइव का ट्रांसमिशन होते हैं वो परचेस करते हैं. इसके बाद 2 मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट है पुणे में, through which it does all its production. One is for driveline and the second one is for gear manufacturing plant. तो जैसे मैंने बताया, जो एग्रीकल्चरल ट्रैक्टर्स है, दैट फॉर्म्स अराउंड 50% ऑफ द बिजनेस. इसमें लाइक 4 व्हील ड्राइव जो ट्रांसमिशन है वो ये कंपनी बनाती है. सो इसके क्लाइंट्स हैं जैसे महिंद्रा, टाफे, सोनालिका. और ये जो फ्यूचर है, एक इंटरव्यू में सुन रहा था, ये जो है ना, इसका फ्यूचर अच्छा है. बिकॉज अभी क्या है, इंडिया में करेंटली 10 लाख ट्रैक्टर बिकते हैं एवरी ईयर, आउट ऑफ विच ओनली 15-16% आर सोल्ड इन 4 व्हील ड्राइव, जहां पे ये कंपनी की वो जो एक्सेल ट्रांसमिशन सिस्टम है वो लगता है. बाकी सब 2 व्हील ड्राइव में बिकते हैं. जबकि डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज में जो है दैट नंबर इज एज हाई एज 85-90%. तो ओवर फ्यूचर दे एंटिसिपेट दैट शिफ्ट इन इंडिया एज वेल. एंड जब ये शिफ्ट होगा तो ये कंपनी का इतना ज्यादा, लाइक इन अ वे इट इज अ मोनोपोली इन दैट सेक्टर. लाइक 65% मार्केट शेयर इनके पास इंडिया में उसका. सो मोस्टली दे विल एंजॉय दैट. एंड धीरे धीरे जैसे बढ़ेगा तो इनका जो 4 व्हील ड्राइव का ट्रांसमिशन है वो भी बढ़ेगा. अब सिमिलरली ये ना कंस्ट्रक्शन व्हीकल्स में भी काम करते हैं. वो कंस्ट्रक्शन व्हीकल्स क्या होते हैं, जैसे बैकहो लोडर्स होते हैं. फॉर द लैक ऑफ अ बेटर वर्ड, मुझे भी नहीं पता था बैकहो लोडर्स क्या होते हैं. इट्स लाइक जेसीबी, जो हम जेसीबी बोलते हैं उसको. उसमें जो 4 व्हील ड्राइव के ट्रांसमिशन लगते हैं, कॉम्पैक्ट व्हील लोडर्स होते हैं, उनमें जो ट्रांसमिशन लगते हैं उनका ये कंपनी लाइक वो प्रोवाइड करती है. 40% ऑफ बिजनेस इज दैट. महिंद्रा, एस, वोल्वो, सीएनएच, ये सब इसके क्लाइंट है. और अदर जो नीश प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं उनसे इनका 10% धंधा आता है. और जो कंपनी जो है वो T40 से लेके T135 तक के डिफरेंट ट्रांसमिशन बनाती है. ये 40, 135 वगैरह बेसिकली ना हॉर्स पावर है. 40 इज लाइक 42 हॉर्स पावर, 135 इज लाइक 150 हॉर्स पावर. एंड मेजरली दे मेक मोर देन 110 हॉर्स पावर वाले से इनका मेन धंधा आता है. और इनने एक अभी ET50 भी बनाया है. T50 बेसिकली उसका E लगा दिया तो इट्स लाइक इलेक्ट्रिक ट्रांसमिशन. इलेक्ट्रिक वाले ट्रैक्टर्स के लिए जब भी वो होगा तो उनके लिए भी इनके पास ट्रांसमिशन रेडी है. सो विच इन अ वे इज लाइक दे आर फ्यूचर रेडी. एंड जब भी वो बिजनेस आएगा तो दे विल बी एबल टू डू दैट एज वेल. द कंपनी MD, सो अगेन करारो ग्रुप के जो यूएस इटली वाला ग्रुप है उसका जो प्रमोटर है, दैट पर्सन हैड आल्सो लिस्टेड द इंटरव्यू. एंड देन द कंपनी इंडिया MD इज बालाजी गोपालन, हु हैज बीन विद द कंपनी सिंस 1997, जब पहली बार incorporate हुई थी कंपनी. So he has been with the company for like 27-28 years and is a reasonably solid guy. I really liked the guy as such. और उसके अलावा कंपनी का लाइक आफ्टर सेल सर्विस अक्रॉस इंडिया में, सेल्स नेटवर्क इंडिया में. सो ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स, लाइक 220 सप्लायर हैं इनके पास जिनके थ्रू ये बिजनेस करते हैं. अराउंड 75% आई थिंक और 65% यूएस इनका बिजनेस इंडिया से होता है. और 35% जो है वो एक्सपोर्ट होता है. और एक्सपोर्ट जो होता है वो करारो ग्रुप को ही होता है. लाइक 32% तो इनका मेजर सबसे बड़ा कस्टमर तो करारो ग्रुप जो इटली वाला है वही है. अब अगर फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं, बिफोर आई कम टू द नेगेटिव्स, आई नो आई हैव ओनली स्पोकन वेरी गुड थिंग्स अबाउट द कंपनी, बट तो पहले एक बार नेगेटिव्स की बात कर लेता हूं, उसके बाद फाइनेंशियल्स पे आता हूं. सो नेगेटिव्स, एक तो पहला ये कि प्रमोटर फुल एग्जिट ले, लाइक नो ग्रोथ कैपिटल इज बीइंग रेज्ड बाय द कंपनी, ऑल ऑफ विच इज बीइंग टेकन. जो 1250 करोड़ है वो पूरा ही एग्जिट लेके प्रमोटर्स उस कैश को कुछ और यूज करेंगे. This is especially relevant because company is already operating at 80-85%, 82 से 85% कैपेसिटी. उनका यूटिलाइजेशन ऑलरेडी फुल है. और जो MD है उसने भी एक कॉल में बोला कि इससे ज्यादा कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं हो सकता है ना मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेटअप. सो इनको आगे ग्रो करने के लिए तो पैसे की जरूरत है ही है, तो इनको कैपेक्स तो करना ही है. फिर मुझे ये समझ नहीं आया कि ये पूरा ही क्यों एग्जिट ले रहे हैं. तो उनसे जो CFO है उससे ये क्वेश्चन पूछा गया. ही सेड वी विल मैनेज थ्रू इंटरनल अप्रूवल्स. बट अगर इंटरनल अप्रूवल्स भी मैं देखूं तो वो बहुत स्लोली ग्रो करेंगे, बिकॉज कंपनी का जो पैट है वो तो कम है. 60 करोड़ टाइप का पैट था पिछले साल. सो एंड इनका एसेट टर्नओवर भी अराउंड 2 का है, विच इज प्रोबेबली वेरी लेस कंपेयर टू द इंडस्ट्री. ऑल्दो इंडस्ट्री में इनका पीयर ढूंढना मुश्किल है, बट फॉर्जिंग वगैरह के भी पीयर देखूं तो उनका भी 3-3.5 एसेट टर्नओवर होता है. इसका 2 का है. तो बहुत स्लोली वो इंटरनल अप्रूवल से कर पाएंगे. तब तक तो ये चोक्ड है. जो इनका लाइक रेवेन्यू है वो मैक्स पे इन अ वे ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं वो. और यही प्रोबेबली द कैप है इन अ वे. तो ये एकदम सही टाइम पे OFS लाया गया है, IPO लाया गया है, जब ऑलरेडी कंपनी इज परफॉर्मिंग एट द लेवल एट विच इट इज ऑपरेटिंग. सेकंड नेगेटिव आई विल टॉक अबाउट इट लेटर, बिकॉज उसमें EBITDA वगैरह की जरूरत पड़ेगी जिसपे ये, तो एक बार फाइनेंशियल करने के बाद बात करूंगा. तो एक बार उस पे आते हैं. सो फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं अगर मैं, सो कंपनी का जो टॉप लाइन है वो तो कंसिडरेबली धीरे धीरे, मतलब एट द पेस एट यू कंसिडर अ बिग कंपनी टू ग्रो, MNC टू ग्रो, उस हिसाब से बढ़ रहा है. 2022 में 1500 करोड़ था, 2023 में 1700 करोड़ था. 1500, 1700 एंड देन 2024 में 1800 सी आता है. एंड H1 में भी इनने around 922 CR का किया है, so should close at like 1850 crores type of a revenue. In terms of the bottom line, if you'll see, they used to historically operate at 7% EBITDA, FY22 to FY24. And they made like 62 CR in FY24. But in H1 of FY25, उनका जो EBITDA है ना, वो 7% से increase होके 11% हो गया है in IPO year, which is especially like, for the lack of a better word, someone will call it, which raises eyebrows. बट अगर इसके बारे में अपन देखेंगे ना, तो इनने बेसिकली 62 CR FY24 में बनाए थे. इन FY23 दे ऑलरेडी मेड 49 CR इन 6 months. जब उसमें मेजर रीजन ये नहीं है कि कुछ और सेविंग है. मेजर रीजन है कि ये पहले ना रॉयल्टी ज्यादा देते थे, अब ये रॉयल्टी इनने कम कर दी. सो बेसिकली दे यूज्ड टू पे लाइक 22 CR. इनने H1 ऑफ FY24 में 22 CR की रॉयल्टी दी थी, which has came down to like 6 CR in H1 of FY25. So basically जो 16 CR का additional PAT दिख रहा है in terms of PAT margin, EBITDA margin, that is because the royalty has reduced. अब वो रॉयल्टी जो है वो क्यों कम हुई? तो बेसिकली इनको ना 2 प्रकार की रॉयल्टी देनी पड़ती थी अभी तक. एक तो होती थी आईपी की रॉयल्टी, जो करारो ग्रुप, यूएस इंटरनेशनल वाले करारो ग्रुप ने कुछ तो इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी बना रखी थी 151 आईपी, उसको यूज करते थे, उसकी आईपी देनी पड़ती थी. वो अब इनने बोला कि हमने इंडिया यूनिट ने उसको खरीद लिया है उस आईपी को. सो इन अ वे दे नाउ डोंट हैव टू गिव आईपी फॉर दैट. सो ही सेड, द एमडी सेड दैट दिस increased EBITDA margin is sustainable because they now no longer have to pay that royalty which was for the IP which they were using. They will only have to pay the royalty of 0.3 to 0.4% of revenue which is for using the brand name, जो कि वो पहले भी पे कर रहे थे. So he is saying that this is sustainable. यानी कि वो जो EBITDA margin है वो around 10-11% पे sustainable है. And like he was asked a couple of times counter questions on this, ki can we expect the brand royalty to go up in the future or this IP royalty to come back? उसने clearly बोला कि नहीं, none of them will probably come back. So having set up the company, financials की बात करता हूँ, and this is probably where I feel it doesn't do a lot of justice. The company is very fairly valued, काफी highly valued आ रही है. So company जो है वो TTM 45 PE पे आ रही है. अगर मैं ये मान भी लूं तो 45 PE पे आ रही है. एंड प्रोबेबली अगर ये मैं मान लूं कि एनुअलाइज रेवेन्यू करूं मैं, तो भी कंपनी का PE इज अराउंड 40. और अगर H2 में थोड़ा सा हैवी मानूं, क्योंकि लास्ट ईयर हिस्टोरिकली लाइक उनने 25 CR किया था H1 में एंड 62 CR किया था H2 में, 62 टोटल किया था. सो लाइक दे डिड सम 60% ऑफ बिजनेस इन H2. अगर वो मैं हैवी भी मान लूं H2 फॉर सम रीजन, देन ऑल्सो द PE शुड बी समवेयर अराउंड 37 to 38. अगर मैं FY24 अर्निंग्स पे PE मानूं तो 64 है. बट आई डोंट थिंक वी शुड यूज इट, बिकॉज उन्होंने बोला है कि हमने रॉयल्टी अब देना बंद कर दिया है, जो वो आईपी वाली रॉयल्टी है. सो आई फील एट 40 PE or like 38 PE, something like that, it's a very like okay valued company. End of the day, it's a OEM प्रोडक्ट. OEMs को ये क्रिटिकल प्रोडक्ट प्रोवाइड करता है. आई अंडरस्टैंड इसमें ना इनकी लाइक लीडरशिप है एंड प्रोबेबली दे आर द बिगेस्ट लीडर्स, बट इन अ वे इट इज वैल्यूइंग इटसेल्फ वेल, स्पेशली कंसीडरिंग की ग्रोथ विल बी वेरी कंस्ट्रेंट. अब ग्रो करने के लिए इनकी कैपेसिटी 85% पे चल रहे हैं, तो अभी तो इंटरनल अक्रूवल से करेंगे अपना कैपेक्स, उससे वो आएगा, फिर वो यूज होगा, तो तब तक तो इट्स अ लाइक वेरी स्लो मूविंग कंपनी. सो दैट्स व्हाई आई हैड डिसाइडेड नॉट टू गो फॉरवर्ड विद दिस. लिस्टेड पीएस मुझे जो इनने दिखाए वो मुझे इतने लाइक कंपेरेबल नहीं लगे, सो आई विल नॉट टॉक अबाउट देम. Just talking about one last thing, Anchor Book, it was pretty okay, decent. Like most of it was mutual funds, like 51% mutual funds के पास थी, and it felt like it was a very equally distributed Anchor Book where a lot of people had came in, and most of it was with domestic mutual funds. I am probably going to skip this issue because I don't feel A, there's any listing gain, and B, even in long term, the growth should be very constrained. तो मेरे को इतना मजा नहीं आया comparatively. That is what my review was of Carraro. Anything which you guys have to add?
Nothing really from my side, man. I haven't studied this company in much detail, so I'm going with your read.
यार ज्यादा पढ़ने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. तन्मय, you have anything to add? कोई तो टाइप कर रहा है.
2-3 चीजें हैं. मतलब आई गेस आई सॉ इट्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटी virtual, and some of my you can say contacts also visited the facility. तो दे सेड कि यार एक रियल एमएनसी लेवल का सेटअप है इनका, एंड जो पुणे में असेंबली यूनिट है ना, वहां पे अभी भी इनके पास थोड़ी सी कैपेसिटी है. एंड वन आई गेस पब्लिकली द एमडी टोल्ड कि वी आर गोइंग टू डू अ केपेक्स ऑफ 100 crores, बट द थिंग इज सिमिलर कि यार 100 crore पे आप 2.2 मैक्स 2.3 का, 2.3 भी नहीं होगा, 2.2 का एसेट टर्न पकड़ के 220 crore, उसमें से शायद आप 50% 60% फर्स्ट एफ वाई में यूटिलाइज करोगे तो 100 crore रेवेन्यू बढ़ेगा, विच इज हार्डली 5%, 5.5%. तो इसमें ग्रोथ नहीं आने वाली है. एंड वन मोर थिंग इज, जो रॉयल्टी इनका अकाउंटिंग है ना, तो ये साल का पूरा रेवेन्यू का एनुअल लेवल पे 0.3 to 0.4% लेते हैं. मतलब इट्स रफली 0.35 पकड़ लो, 1800 पे वो होता है करीब करीब एक रफली 7-8 crores. तो दे हैव टेकन आई गेस एंटायर और द मेजर पोर्शन H1 ओनली. तो H2 में वो पैट थोड़ा ज्यादा दिखेगा, बट स्टिल वो 35, 37, 38 का मल्टीपल इज नॉट अट्रैक्टिव, नॉट एट ऑल what you can say attractive for public investors, maybe for a fund level or institution it might be. Uh, One more thing was, actually this IPO was expected to be at 1,820 crores at 6,500 crore I guess valuation. But though the valuation has been reduced, but still it's not lucrative kind of decentish company. और growth तो इंडियन इकोनॉमी जितना ही है वो भी ग्रॉस लेवल पे, नेट लेवल पे, पोस्ट डेप्रिसिएशन तो मतलब ठीक है, पोस्ट इन्फ्लेशन. तो आई एम नॉट लाइक मच एक्साइटेड. मुझे लॉन्ग टर्म में शायद पैसा बन जाए, बट फॉर लिस्टिंग एंड आई एम नॉट, आई डोंट फील कि ज्यादा पैसा बनेगा इसमें.
Yeah, very similar read to this, especially considering कि और भी कई सारी कंपनी है. This is one company which I'm probably going to avoid as well in terms of like just not putting a retail FD. Although if you really think कि आपको long term allocation बनाना है, it should probably have a very easy allotment. I think it will probably be the easiest allotment of all 8 companies, and like no guesses there because GMPB I'm assuming iska khula bhi nahi hai abhi comparatively. So having said that as well, I don't think there's anything more to do on Carraro, and we can probably move to the last company, Ventive, unless anyone has anything to do say in terms of like applying to Carraro or anything like that, or we can talk about Ventive.
Let's move.
Got it. So moving forward to Ventive, the company is in hospitality segment and primarily focuses on developing and managing high-end luxury hotels and resorts. It has its hotels in Pune, Bangalore, Maldives, Varanasi, etc. Interesting thing about the company was that they have a huge debt of 3,400 crores, out of which they are using all their IPO proceeds to repay the debts, which is a good thing because it's like the company is not, there's no OFS, all of it is growth capital, where it's not really growth, but there will be some bottom line accretive because कुछ तो part जो होगा वो PAT में दिखेगा because interest cost will reduce. Having said that, let me set up the IPO. The company is raising 1,600 crores at a market cap of 15,000 crores. 1,600 CR, all fresh issue. Market cap 15,000 crore का है. And in terms of the financials, revenue is 1,907 crores and PAT is negative 66 crore. I.e. the company made a loss of 66 crore, and this is at console level, which I'm talking about. So PE वगैरह का question नहीं है because it made loss, and since it made loss in FY24, it's also going to be a 10% retail issue. In terms of the LM तो पूरी जनता है इसमें. There's JM Financial, there's Axis, there's HSBC, there's ICICI, there's IIFL, there's Kotak, there's SBI. A lot of LMs. With that, maybe I will hand it over to Rohit. Do you want to go ahead and cover Ventive Hospitality in detail?
Thanks, Manish. So yeah, I'll cover this company. They are this IPO is a 1,600 crore fresh issue fully. So and I'll come to that later. So I found that interesting given the context of a lot of the issues that we're seeing recently. So Ventive Hospitality is an asset owner and developer of hospitality assets. Which essentially means that they are a capex heavy kind of business. They work very closely with very well-known hotel brands, Marriott, Hilton. There's a brand called Atmosphere, which is a very popular brand in the Maldives. I myself stayed in one of their properties, very, very well run, high quality and very highly rated. If you look at all their properties, they're very highly rated on TripAdvisor and Google. As a standalone company, Ventive Hospitality actually owns only one asset, which is JW Marriott Pune. But in this last financial year, they have acquired another 10 assets, across Pune, Bangalore and Maldives. When I say acquired, actually 6 of the properties they acquired were already being run by this promoter group. So the promoter group here is a combination of Panchsheel Realty, which is a very well-known Pune real estate developer, and Blackstone. And Blackstone itself is one of the, I think globally, one of the largest real estate companies in the world, and they have this entity called BRE, which is a hospitality-focused entity. So they really know their stuff when it comes to hospitality and hotels. So this joint entity is the owner of this particular company, and 6 of the properties that they acquired were already being run by the promoter group, either Panchsheel or in some way or some sort of association with this BRE entity. So you can say it's kind of like a consolidation within this entity. The other 4 assets were external acquisitions. So if you look at the Conrad and Anantara, which are 2 properties in the Maldives, and 2 Aloft hotels in Bangalore, those were sort of acquired from other parties. In total now, the company has 2,036 keys. So one thing is, if you see the RHP, because till last FI, they only had 1 asset, which was that JW Marriott. They've actually split the numbers into 2 parts. They've split it into what they call restated financials, which is just of that single JW Marriott asset. And they've split, and this thing is the pro forma financials. The pro forma financials are all the numbers, assuming all these 11 properties were there in the last 3 years, because those properties are also independently running, and it's just effectively an acquisition. So I think it's very important. Like if you look at a screener, for example, it actually only shows the restated financials, which is completely wrong. I think even Chittorgarh initially was only showing the restated financials, which is completely misleading. So just remember that you have to look at the pro forma financials here, because from this year and going forward, it will always be all of these 11 assets which contribute to numbers. So this company, Ventive, plays in 3 segments: luxury, upper upscale, and upscale. These are like the top 3 tiers of, hotels. And 80% of their revenue, of their hotel revenue, comes from this luxury segment. So they have 5 properties: there's JW, Ritz, both in Pune, and the 3 properties in the Maldives. And all of these, like I said, are very highly rated across the board. So if you just compare even a JW Pune with a JW Bangalore, for example, it will be higher rated. Ritz Pune will be higher than Ritz Bangalore, just say run by somebody else. So overall, I can see that this company is doing what they're supposed to do really, really well. One other thing is this company, when they acquired a lot of these assets, and even that first sort of JW Marriott Pune asset, it has come with, that area that they have acquired, comes with a bunch of office establishments as well. So a large, I think few million square foot of office space, which also is part of the revenue pool of this company, and it generates an annuity revenue of around 450 crore per year. It's about 25% of their overall revenue just comes from this sort of annuity, cash generating sort of business that will continue. They don't intend to scale this business anymore, but that business will continue, and it operates at 95% occupancy with sort of very high sort of lock-ins with the client. So that's also a good thing, for the company. Today, the company, if I just look at what they did last year, they did about 1,900 crore of revenue with 870 crore EBITDA. This EBITDA margin, which is very important in the hospitality space, is 45%, which is actually the second best amongst all listed peers. The highest one is Lemon Tree, which is not even in the same segment, and very different kind of model, super budget, cut corners everywhere. If you just leave Lemon Tree aside, this is actually the highest EBITDA business, hospitality business that is there in the Indian public markets. It is also the highest EBITDA in the category that it operates. So one thing just to be clear is these guys are asset owners and developers. They don't have their own brand. So like a Taj, for example, or a, Oberoi, it's their own brand which they operate and they run. Whereas here they partner with operators like a Marriott or Hilton. This is similar in model to a Juniper Hotels or a Chalet Hotels or even a Samhi to some extent. And if you look at the margins of Ventive compared to all of these 3, it is superior. It's about 3 to 4%, 3% more than Chalet, 6-7% more than Juniper, and much, much higher than Samhi Hotels. And the other small thing is very large percentage of the EBITDA gets converted to cash. Their operating cash flow is about 800 crore, which means they're generating a lot of cash in the business. Obviously, there is a debt issue which takes away, so which is why their P&L looks in the red today, but I'll sort of cover that. The other 2 things which I really like, the average room rent is by far the highest of anyone in the country. They're sitting at around 20,000 rupees per night. The next highest is 15,000. Which is, there's a sea difference between this and Indian hotels. Their RevPAR is the second highest. So this is a function of the slightly lower utilization. I'll come to that when I talk about the couple of negatives. But RevPAR is still the second highest at almost 12,000 rupees. This essentially sort of cements that this is at a premium positioning, which no other player is. And inevitably in the Indian market, premium positioning gets premium multiples. This ultimately will reflect in the EBITDA and eventually the PAT. You can see that in the EBITDA today, and we will see that in the PAT in the future. The other thing is although the RHP today says that they're going to go from 2,000 keys to I think 2,400, 500 keys, something like that. That is only of the assets that are already, where they've already acquired the assets for, and those will get developed over the next 2-3 years. So that by itself looks less, but the management has made it clear in interviews that they actually want to take this 2,000 to 5,000 keys, which is a 2.5x increase in the number of keys in the next 3 to 5 years. This will happen once once the company goes public, once they have access to, lower cost funds, once they go public, once they are able to transfer their stock, the sort of liquid stock, they can use that to actually buy out. At the end of the day, they acquire assets. So if they have, their stock is effectively currency. So once they go public, they'll be able to use that currency. So it's, I would say that the management has said at least that they intend to be quite aggressive in growth. So that was one question I had in my mind, but when I heard that interview, it sort of calmed a lot of things for me. So yeah, that RHP number is not fully reflective of what they plan to do, it's just of what is already in the pipeline. So yeah, to me, this is the largest player in this segment. They're 30% larger than Chalet. I'll just cover a couple of the red flags before I give my final view. There are two things that I found slightly, relatively negative. One is their occupancy is low. This is a function of when you're operating this luxury segment, you'll always have slightly lower, occupancy compared to the budget or mid-range or even the subscale sort of range. The 7,000-8,000 price point is very different from a 20, 50, 60. The Maldives operates at 60, 70,000 price point. So if you see the Maldives, especially, will be at 40 to 50% occupancy, which pulls down their overall occupancy. But, of course, the margins sort of more than makes up for it. And somebody like a Maldives also, in the rainy season, for example, the occupancy is extremely low. However low you price it, people will not go. Because when they go, they want to go, it's like a special occasion kind of thing. So they'll make up for it with higher occupancy during the season. But because the occupancy off season is so low, it's impossible for them to really cross that 60% kind of threshold no matter what. The second thing, of course, is debt, which is high. Again, it's a factor of the fact that they have acquired so many of these assets this year. So it's just, I'd say, par for the course for a business that is growing inorganically. Their debt equity today is 1x, which is not that bad. And that'll about halve once they get the, IPO funds. Interest cost today are about 300 crore, which will again halve once, 1,500 crore debt being paid off. That will also halve. And as soon as that happens, I think in H2 itself, this company will be PAT positive. Year-on-year growth last year was not great, 8 to 10%, compared to peers, but they do have a new property. One of the Maldives properties is just launched, I think a few months, in H2, just a little before H2, where that will again have H2 is a very, very good season in Maldives. I saw the reviews of this property also. They're also very good. These early reviews are really good. So I'm expecting H2 to have good impact from that. So I think that last year growth would be a one-off and they should see growth coming back again. Couple of other points. This company is coming at a 17,000 crore EV. So I'm looking at this on an EV EBITDA basis. There's no point in looking at PAT. And anyway, all hotel businesses get valued on EV EBITDA only. It's coming at 17,000 crore EV with 870 crore EBITDA in FY24, which is just 19 and a half times FY24. In my view, this is cheap. Chalet trades at 35 times, Juniper at 25 times. This is all while Ventive is more premium positioned, better pricing. You can see that the promoters are actually not selling any shares. There's no OFS at all. It's clear that they also know that, okay, they're coming with the IPO. So, market is what it is, but they don't think that this is the right price to sell their own shares. Anchors are also excellent. 1/3 of the anchor book is just Quant, which is, I know last maybe 6 months, Quant has not had the best performance with whatever front-ending issues and all, but Quant has historically always picked phenomenal, they've been a phenomenal performer over the, let's say, last 5-7 years. And with them taking 1/3 of the anchor book, I think it's a huge vote of confidence. There are also a lot of interesting FIIs. So personally for me, this is a blind apply. Lower the GMP, the better. I think the one thing is hotel stocks, just to be sort of to lay the risk, I have laid out some of the risks. Hotel stocks generally don't list well. If you look at the last 3 listings, Samhi, Juniper, both listed absolutely flat. Both ran after listing, like almost immediately after listing. I think Park Hotels listed much lesser than expected and didn't do well at all after listing. That was an exception. I think they also had some operational challenges, but it didn't list as well as it should have. So that is definitely a risk. I think if you look at somebody like a Sai Life, which in the pharma sector, generally pharma sector actually lists very well, but hotels haven't. So that's just one thing I would caution. But otherwise, for me, everything else, I can only see really, really positive signs with this company. I couldn't find any major red flag, and on a valuation basis, they've left, in my view, enough and more on the table. So I think this should give listing gains, and I think this, even if it doesn't list so well, it can do very well post-listing. So that's my read on this company.
Got it. Thanks so much, Rohit, for very good comprehensive review. एक दो questions मैं पूछता हूँ, but उससे पहले everyone saying, can you ask Rohit to speak slightly slowly, or like the other comment in a positive sense is really a fan of Rohit's fluent English. Which is probably what it is, but I would put it saying if you could probably just tone down the speed of your taking things. I understand it's late, so we'll not take a lot of your time. But, two questions from my end. One, what is the promoter holding? Like, how much is Panchsheel holding in this, and how much is Blackstone holding? How does it change after IPO? And second thing, since I understand कि आपने बताया कि इसका बहुत सारा business Maldives में है, is it a risk of any kind? Because considering our relations have been slightly on and off with Maldives, I understand like how much of their tourism comes from India, or do you think it's a risk of some kind per se?
So I think on the first one, I also tried to find this. It was roughly 50-50 a year ago. But I think after some of the acquisitions, because some of the acquisitions were for Panchsheel properties, I think that number has gone up a little bit. I think it's closer to 60-40. But yeah, it's in that range, 60% Panchsheel, 40% Blackstone. There are different entities that own, that sum up, that make up the total Panchsheel holding, and 2-3 entities that make up the Blackstone holding. So I didn't actually sum up each line, but roughly it looked like about 60-40 to me. So that's on the first one. On the second one, again, I think the thing is Indians are not a very large contributor to the, the kind of price points that they cater to, right? Like Conrad, the rates are like a lakh a night. It's not really very India centric, not even targeted towards the Indians. So I personally don't think there is any real impact of any of this relations. Like we don't contribute that much to the Maldives economy or to Maldives tourism. So there is some recent listing, but I've noticed that even the, like say friends and family who have gone to Maldives, they'll pick these 3-4 places that, like say a Taj, that provides very nice Indian kind of food. They will not really go to the resorts that require you to take a seaplane flight to one of the other atolls, which itself will cost you another 40,000, each way. So it's just not the way we travel. And so it's very much catered to the sort of international tourist.
Don't know how people travel yet there in India. I know a lot of
that. There are, like if you go to, there's the North Malay Atoll. I mean, I've myself been 3 times to Maldives, and I've seen different islands. The North Malay Atoll, you can just reach by boat, and it's very cheap. And your Taj and all is situated. There's some 2 Tajes over there. It's very easy to get to. But the moment you have to go to the 3 atolls where these guys have their 3 properties, you have to take a seaplane flight. And if you take a seaplane flight, it just looks so expensive that you will not do it. So it's just a mentality like that. Whereas your Taj is so superbly suited to the Indian traveler, Indian food. Obviously that they're also excellent properties. So it's not, this kind of company will not really be affected by that.
Got it. Also want to highlight, I lived some time in Pune. Panchsheel is a very, very reputed builder, especially on the Maharashtra side and the Pune side. World Trade Center, Trump Towers was built by Panchsheel. World Trade Center in Pune is built by Panchsheel. So Panchsheel enjoys a really good reputation in that region. So Panchsheel plus Blackstone seems like a killer combo, at least on face of it. Having said that, next question probably, and again, this is something which I'm not sure how much you will be comfortable, but how do you value this business? Where do you see this should be trading? Any rough estimate like that?
Tanmay wants to say something. He can go ahead of me.
I can probably answer this question. So post repaying the debt. So Manish, can you please mute yourself? That background is getting sound is getting reflected. So post repayment of 1,500 crores, the debt will come to 1,500 crores. 3,000 crores is the consolidated level debt. So the enterprise value will actually get lower. And the EBITDA what is expected in current financial only, and if what I'm projecting next financial year, what I personally feel is Ventive will have one more fundraise at a 50,000 crore valuation. That's all what I can say.
Got it. One question, Rohit, which probably is in the comments, that if it is operating at a higher EV by EBITDA than Sami and Juniper, do you think those margins will essentially align and come like this number will come down and or probably Juniper and Sami will come up? I understand the answer is no because the positioning is different from my rough understanding, but what do you have to say?
No, so it doesn't trade at a higher EV EBITDA. In fact, it's lower than Juniper, at least at the IPO price. If you mean EBITDA margin, that is
EBITDA margin, yes.
Yeah. So EBITDA margin, I think that has to do with just a much higher room rate and higher ARR. Like if you see their properties, like if you just look at the way their properties are structured, the way their the occupancies are structured, like the kind of Maldives, like that makes up, I think the two Maldives property make up about 25% of their revenue. And that sits at a 1 lakh, 60K in one and I think 80K in the other ARR, average room rent. Like that is, and Maldives is again very, very high margin, relatively extremely high margin, high EBITDA business. So others cannot, unless some of those other, developers also start having assets in these kind of places, it'll be very difficult for them to compete with the kind of margin structure that this company will have. And remember, this third Maldives property is not even there in the numbers. Like it hasn't even impacted the numbers. So there's a full third property which will start from this H2, and will help keep their overall EBITDA. And like, again, look at the price, right? Like the cheapest room there is 1.1 lakh or something per night, in this third property. So it's like, I don't see any, I think their margins will be defended. The other peers have to change something about where they operate, how they operate for them to get to this kind of margin. It's not easy. 45% is a phenomenal margin to have. Like I said, it's the highest. I think the only other player, which I remember seeing in this sort of segment, again, super luxury kind of segment, is Leela. Leela also has filed a DRHP, and Leela, I think, operates at a similar kind of EBITDA margin, but there is no one else who operates at this EBITDA margin. As a function of the RevPAR and the ARR. It's simply a function of that. And that automatically gets a premium, in my view. You can say that ultimately it boils down to the same number in number EBITDA or uska kuch multiple milega, but that's not how it works, because the higher EBITDA you have, eventually the PAT, your forward PAT will be that much higher because it's all leverage. So I think it will get a premium. I believe it should get a premium over Juniper itself, which is itself 20-30% higher than this company, 30% higher than this company. So that's my belief. Let's see what happens.
So I'll talk on this some parts. One general conception ki inka ARR, why it is more than the peers ki 17-18 ka ARR kyun hai? The reason is very simple. In India, their room rents are averagely kind of 11,000, 12,500, 13,000 kind of. And in Maldives, their ARR is close to 80,000, 75 to 80,000. Just consolidate these numbers. The ARR will come at like roughly 18,000, which is best in the industry. First thing. Second thing, one very interesting point I would like to highlight is, I guess many of you might not value that point, but I personally find there's a lot of value on this single point. At what borrowing cost this company is able to get the bank funding. I'll just give some numbers. Sami Hotels gets at 15%. 15%. They have even raised at 18%, but that was at 2022, so we cannot compare, but they still get at 13%. Juniper gets at 11-12%. Oberoi, EIH and all that stuff gets at roughly 10%. Taj, when it used to it used to be close to 9.2, 9.3%. This Ventive get the at 8.7%, best in the industry. Because Blackstone, it has solid corporate guarantee there. And one more thing, at what valuations Leela is expected to come, it is, I guess, almost 2 to 2.5 times on current multiple. It's like the Sagility and IKES. Sagility was at 20 times, it came at 50 times. So that is what is expected. One more was I am personally, near this hotel only, I live just 2 kilometers away from JW Marriott Pune. And even I've seen Ritz-Carlton from outside. So I know what level of property JW Marriott is. And you just check out what rates that area has. There's a huge Pavilion Mall, just besides that, and huge India's largest Vijay sales near it. And then Cello Towers and all that stuff. We have ICT's company, we have Persistent in that. So it's very, I can see that if you want to make a next JW Marriott, you will require at least a 2,500 crore rupees, single property. Because I'm from the, I know what yields and what rents and what, I even know these offices which Blackstone has, super annuity driven and very high profile, very big corporates commence their businesses there. And what I personally feel is कि यार मतलब very name statement, I see it a tripler, 3 गुना हो सकता है stock. So that is what I personally feel on this stock. But yes, I am yet to make my calculations. I'll be probably posting this on the last day, but I'll request everyone कि यार थोड़ा पैसा तो आपको बचा के रखना पड़ेगा इसके लिए. It's going to be positive surely. कितना positive है time पे समझ में आएगा.
Got it. Thank you so much guys for covering this in so much detail. I understand एक part ये होगा कि anchor investment कैसा आता है. Basis that I would take a call because I understand this is trading in like at least the GMP part I understand is not trading in the most higher numbers, and maybe because of that I would look at the QIB number on the last day very carefully. But again, as I said, I would save a lot of money on day 2 and go light on day 1 is what my strategy would be. And maybe this is a good movement or good segue into the next segment, which is what are we planning to do. So I will just very candidly give my view, and then maybe you three can. I can't see Yash. कितना खाना खा लिया चला गया. But having said that, I'll give my view. I would just apply retail in tomorrow's 5 applications because I again have a limited fund. So basis on what happens on with QIB action, I will take a call whether I want to go divide the money in Sonores and Ventive, or I want to go high in Senores. So again, I'm more of a standby position for day 2, Tuesday, but I've made my mind on Monday majorly because the issues are small, the sizes are small, and they are pretty heavily in demand. So I'm hoping against hope that not a lot of people listen to this, and uski wajah se a lot of money gets blocked on day 1, so that I'll be able to probably see what's happening on day 2. But that is what my review is. What are you guys planning to do, Tanmay and Rohit? If you can cover, and then we can probably wrap up in the next 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes.
So I'm almost on. I'm yet to make my notes, but I am a bit scared कि I'll be going more into the day 2 issues, Senores, and I feel I'll be going in Ventive. I'm yet to make the calculations, but I guess I'm going in Ventive. And personally feeling Ventive should get the highest QIB subscription. What I personally feel is.
Again, I would want to see that happen because again, I'll tell you my reservation. It's just that hotels don't list well. Like Sami, Juniper, it just don't list well. For the lack of a better word. So I understand a lot of people are IPO applicants for the lack of a better word. So again, want to see how it gets listed.
Sir, I feel the last 3 hotel listings, each one had some reasons why it didn't got listed.
वो hindsight में लगता है यार, वो hindsight में लगता है. I understand. I am also saying I like the company, but I want to wait for what is happening on last day. But having said that, maybe Rohit, what do you have to say? What are you planning to do?
So my plan as of now is to definitely allocate full force for Ventive, full force for Transrail and Dam, and Senores. Like those are 4 where I will go full force. Then I will mostly also apply in Concord. I will definitely avoid Carraro. I mean, that's what I have decided so far. Now, between Concord and Sanathan, I couldn't hear Yash's review of Sanathan because Twitter was just acting up. So I still haven't really studied that company myself, and I need to listen to that review once. But this is like, for me, Ventive is the one where I will try to get as much allocation.
So it's sir, आप ना Carraro लगाओ. Carraro है Italian MNC. आप उसके लिए पैसा बचा के रखो. I would suggest.
Too late, sir. I heard every word you said before this. Yeah, so that is like, thank you for making sure that I skipped that company. Ventive, yeah, between these 4, I will go full force. And then, and I think Ventive is the one where maximum allotment should come. And between Concord, I like Concord a lot as well. but let's see how the subscription comes. I don't want to take very, very high exposure there. And Sanathan, I actually haven't studied, so I just have to sort of make up my mind on that.
Got it. With that, we have kind of covered all the eight IPOs for Monday and Tuesday. And we have also given a priority order in like what we know. Understand a lot of it will change subject to what is happening on Monday and Tuesday. Markets कैसे रहते हैं वगैरह. So we'll continue to post as and when we find out what we find out. Definitely follow all of us so that you are in the green and are able to see. In the meanwhile also, अगर आपने कुछ कोई IPO रिव्यू नहीं सुना है तो YouTube चैनल सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए. ऊपर लिंक में जो पिन कमेंट है वो कल वाले IPOs का है जिसमें हमने ममता ट्रांसरेल वगैरह के बारे में बात की है. अब लास्ट पार्ट के बारे में आता हूँ, विच इज की अभी भी 2 IPO हैं इसी हफ्ते जो बचे हुए हैं. इट्स सच अ बिग वीक कि हमें पार्ट 3 भी करना पड़ेगा प्रोबेबली, विच इज यूनिमैक एरोस्पेस एंड सोलर 91. Very different companies. Like we'll have to study really in detail. And आज हमारे पास टाइम नहीं था, and we wanted to do this space today to be able to do justice to what we had said कि हम Monday और Tuesday वाली companies को weekend पे खत्म कर देंगे. That's why we did 3. Ideally we could have done all 5 tomorrow. But we'll probably do one more space. So definitely look for it. We'll try and do it on a Wednesday. Rohit is very angry कि हम उससे एक और space करा रहे हैं, but we'll make sure he joins that one as well. With that, any parting comments or we can end the space?
Nothing yet. Should be an exciting 2 days.
I would request everyone not to spare all the funds on day 1 too.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.